It's 7 o'clock. Welcome to September 26th, Lititz Borough Council meeting. That would get old. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the mayor.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome Missy Dybler this evening from the chaplain from UPMC to give us our invocation.
God is holy call to acknowledge as good faith our Father that we are able to
Thank you, Missy. Could we rise for the pledge to lead, pledge the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of Republic, stand nation, God, visible.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, first item this evening is approval of the August 29th minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as published for August 29th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have one presentation this evening. Ryan McCory is here from the Lititz Public Library to give us an update. All right.
Everybody, thanks for having me. It's been a little while since I've been here. I think it was in the end of March. So if you haven't been to the library, I feel like I need to let you know some things that have happened. In the children's area has been, at least the young children's area has been almost completely revamped. We got brand new shelving, which has allowed for a lot more open space, a lot more easy, I would say, findability and browsability, especially for little fingers, finding the books they're wanting and pulling them off the shelves. Sometimes that's led to a little bit more work for us in terms of putting things back, but for them finding things, it's really been wonderful to see it open up and see a lot more browsing happening with that, which also leads to a lot more books going off the shelf. And I will speak a little bit to numbers going up for 2023, which I think has been a really good thing. We also have a fabulous new mural in the back reading area, little reading nook. Courtesy of the National Art Honor Society students of Warwick High School. So Angie and Naomi did a great job of planning that out and getting some volunteers to come in for that. So if you haven't been in, do come in at least to see the beautiful mural that they've done. The other big thing is the parking lot expansion got completed. So we have 44 more spaces than we had. We did have 72 spaces, now have 116. Last spring, right before the parking lot opened, we had backyard story time and we had 67 families out there. So you can imagine between regular patrons that showed up for story time and staff, it was a little cramped. So we definitely needed the space when we had our most recent book sale and the 85 people that were waiting on the sidewalk to get in as it opened. There were 7 empty spots, even including the brand new parking lot. So it's definitely helped alleviate the parking on 6th Street. I know the Lititz Reserve patrons, residents have complained a lot about the parking out there. We have done pretty much everything we can on all of our posters, all of our registration sheets, all of our advertising for any programs that we have that may cause parking. We have said parking is not allowed on 6th. So we've done pretty much all we can at that point. We have told them, if they need to call and complain to various places, we can't basically do anything more. So if there might be folks driving by, letting people know that parking isn't allowed out there, that would be a help. The other thing, we've had a number of great story times out at the farmers market. I want to thank Amy Spangler and Rebecca at Ruth Venture Lititz for inviting us out for that and really supporting us in that venture. We have begun backyard story times again. We just had a jewelry sale this past weekend that raised almost $5,500. So we're seeing a lot of events. And again, like I said, it's the extra parking lot has been a huge help. I do want to name a few people that I want to make sure we thank as far as that parking lot. Travis Rohr at Rohr's Quarry. They donated a lot of materials for that as an in-kind donation, which was greatly appreciated. Warwick Township took on landscaping, and the LRCDC, we received a grant from them to help offset some of the costs. So that was really wonderful recognition from them to recognize that the work that we do does have some economic development capacity to that. So we really appreciated that. So that's kind of what's been going on in a nutshell. Coming up is our 25th anniversary in that location, which when I say that to people, some people are really shocked that it's really been 25 years. So June 5th of next year will be the official date. We'll have a number of events and programs going on, and we've already started kind of thinking about what that looks like. I'm going to be doing a 10-month lecture series at the library. The first half of the year is going to be on kind of the history of libraries, the value of information, spread of literacy, and the right to read. Middle of the year, right around June, for that, we'll also then have a lecture series specifically on the history of the Lititz Public Library. And then we'll turn our attention to the future and what the future library looks like, because the decisions that were made 25 years ago are really what has allowed us to be who we are and where we are today. So we've got to think about what it's going to take to keep us here for the next 25 years. To that end, we're seeing numbers increase tremendously. And other than computer use, which is down for a number of reasons that I'm not that concerned about, all of the other numbers, if the last quarter of this year continues as the first 9 months have gone, we will surpass all of our 2019 numbers. So we will not only be back to pre-COVID numbers, we will be surpassing them, which is a tremendous thing, because up until 2019, all of those numbers had been declining. So the fact that we have stopped the decline and actually turned back up is, I think, remarkable. So coming up, we do have a fundraising trivia that I want to make sure I promote on October 21st. It'll be after hours on Saturday. 12 teams can compete. I will be running the trivia, and it's $60 per team. So it's being run by the Friends of the Public Library, but we will be doing that. We had one in June. It was very successful. We were really trying to expand our programming to encompass a wider range of patrons. We had a belly dancing session just last month, and the folks that came, we had 20 people come, and it was ages 23 to ages 93, and it was fabulous. So we really are trying to broaden what we're able to do at the library. The parking lot has helped, but we also just want to get in lots of different ideas. So ballroom dancing, belly dancing, Tai Chi, lecture series, you name it, we're doing all sorts of things. So come on out to the library. Like I said, make sure you take a look at the mural. Congratulate the Warwick High School National Art Honors students, and see what we're doing. So any questions from you all about what we've done and where we're headed?
It certainly looks busy. I know I've noticed. I drive up and down Kissel Hill Road a lot and just see that parking lot being utilized. So I was surprised that, immediately that's getting hit. So yeah, glad to see it.
All right.
Great. Hey,
Thank
well,
you.
thanks for coming and giving us the good news.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, we have no ordinances, no resolutions. We have one agreement. That's agreement number 556. It's for a sewer easement at 33 North Oak Street. And Elijah, do you want to give us just an overview of this and how it came to fruition?
Sure, this is, so we have an easement over the sewer line that we need to do work on the sewer line. That's what we have the ARPA grant from the county for. Unfortunately, to get there, we need to go through Mr. Zogg's property in a roundabout way and have to remove trees and a few things. He's been very receptive to this. He's actually started taking down some of the trees. We just asked for a nominal fee per year, which is in there, which is $500 a year. So, and he's agreeable to it. He's actually wasn't able to sign it this week, but we'll probably be able to sign it next week.
Okay. All right, and so yeah, this easement will allow us to utilize those ARPA funds. Any questions for Elijah? Any questions from the audience? Now I'd look for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve agreement 556.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Sorry, Ken, I gotta remember there's a delay.
All right.
With that, we'll move into our council members forum, and I'm gonna go to Ken for the subcommittee report on water and wastewater.
Well, good evening, everyone. The subcommittee has just one item of business to share with everybody this evening, and that's just to review the Infomark report. So looking out in the audience, is Nate joining us this evening?
He is.
All right, Nate, come on up. We're glad you're here. I think you have a good report. Share the highlights with the team. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No compliance issues for the month of August. The water plant SCADA is getting so close. It's just a little bit of fine tuning. We did get the loss ahead sensors in place, but turned out they had to flip flop them because of course they didn't come with instructions to put in kind of thing. But that was an easy thing to do. We could actually just turn the base. So just getting that. So like it says, kind of fine tuning going. For the month of August, the accounts were $20,499 over budget with a total of $84,697 over for the year. Few things we had: annual maintenance, environmental services and equipment was in. They did the annual chlorine feed servicing of the chlorine feed equipment. And McDowell was in. They did the annual inspection of all the cranes and hoists that we have at both plants. Then at the wastewater plant, A1 service was in. We did the check valve for PS1 pump number 2 at the wastewater plant, and also pulled the pump so that we could get it rebuilt. And then Cole Brothers, that was so well pump number 3 at the water plant had just during normal operations, we had noticed had a very say ugly vibration to it. We had the pump pulled and inspected. They have recommended replacement, and from what we could find, the pumps from the 90s, so it's kind of you can't say rebuild it anymore. So that is a project we have for next year. We put in next year's budget. Let's see. At the wastewater plant, we were able to find a lightly used Toro DXU TV. So we purchased that to replace the operations golf cart down at the wastewater plant, which was probably about 15, 16 years old. The golf cart was. And let's see, other than that, one other thing, Warwick Woodlands pump station number 2, so the brand new pump station. Of course, it was about a month and a half after the warranty period. Of course, the communication, the alarm control system communication crashed. We were able to get a loaner unit on site, and they have refurbished the original unit, and that's back in place. And And I think that was about all I had. We only thankfully had, there were two call outs, one on the 14th. That was just a power plant for the wastewater plant. Operator responded and also systems are normal. And then we had one at wells 5 and 6 all day. There was, I believe, a transformer issue in town on the 3rd. And we were okay all day until the afternoon, and they did a little bit of work that took us out. Those two wells out, we were able to put alternate wells online for it was only about an hour that we were down, and then they were back in service. And I think that's about all I have.
Any questions?
Council,
for
do we
Nate?
have any questions for Nate?
Doesn't look like it, Ken.
And I have one question, and that was, Nate, on the water treatment plant pump number 3 that Knoll Brothers were working on. Is that $3,800 in your report? Is that the replacement cost?
No. So that was just to have them pull it. The replacement cost, I believe the quote we got was $46,000 for a new one. So like I said, we did put that in next year's budget as a capital project, but then we also have in the budget to pull one of the other 4 or say the other 3 pumps that are on site. We wish to do one at a time over the next 3 years to have all of them evaluated, as well as 5 and 6.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm?
I have no further questions. So seeing none from council, I move to approve the Infomark August operations report for the Lititz water and wastewater treatment facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Next is our report on streets and traffic. Chris.
Shane, the first item on the agenda is the Cedar and Lincoln Culvert repairs. I received a memo from McMahon regarding their strategy for proceeding to work on there. Elijah, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you do
Sure.
specifics.
You know, I'll look to Rob and Scott as well as needed. But, so obviously, the portion is in very poor shape. We talked about that last month. They're recommending proceeding with replacements of that. And then depending on the condition, I think the conditions of the walls are adequate to do this. But there's always the potential that they might not be up to par. And until they start getting into it, they don't feel that they're going to know. They've had the contractor look at it, the contractor is optimistic. So I think that they can do the Lincoln deck, proceed to the Cedar deck over the winter time. Total cost is about right under it was 730,000. The original cost was about 380,000. Again, we have a grant of 400,000 and had $50,000 budgeted for it previously. If we find that the walls are not up to par, the cost to replace the walls would be comparable to that 740,000. And most likely at that point, Cedar Street would be deferred until later. Based on conversations with the contractor, they're on a project right now, but they could begin work basically the beginning of November with council approval. So the contract was this is still within the scope of work for doing basically repairs. I'll look to the other ones to see if I missed anything.
I'm looking at sourcing those remaining funds, where it was $190,000 essentially from other places in the budget where we're outperforming expenses.
Just so Ken can hear too. I think as far as the details as funding goes, the finance committee meets this Friday and we're going to get into those details. I would expect with it not starting until November, we will only see a small portion hit this fiscal year and most of it being next year. So that gives us an opportunity to plan a little better. And this would be mostly, if not all, from the stormwater construction fund.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks, Elijah.
Elijah, Robin, the letter here, it doesn't say the duration. I read that it continues throughout the winter.
Give a specific duration. The impression that I was given was that the concrete work could be completed over the winter time, but paving would have to wait until the spring. And that's part of the strategy is whether once the deck is closed or once the deck is replaced, whether to keep the road closed or temporarily patch it. And I think that's really going to depend if we can move on to Cedar or not.
Any other questions?
No, if there's, can you come up to the mic, Linda?
Oh, so just a quick one.
It's just for the benefit of,
You're speaking with.
okay, we're just asking you to abide by the rules that we put in place.
Yep. First and 226th Street, so the 380 that was already granted is an additional 740, and then when will we get a report about the sides and the whole, cost? And could we hear from the engineers possibly to come to a meeting to speak to us about this?
So it's not an additional 740, the 740 would be the total cost. So the price difference is, the 740 less the 380. I believe staff has been working with the engineer closely on this, who's been working with the contractor. I'm confident that at least I'm willing to depend on the expertise of others who know a lot more than I do about things like this. And I think we want to be able to expedite this process to provide the residents with those roads being reopened as soon as possible. So I'm comfortable moving our recommendation tonight. There's no other question. Yep.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the revised bid from McMahon for the Cedar and Lincoln Culvert changes and repairs totaling $739,868.75.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 on the agenda is a special event permit application for the Lititz Park Walk, being requested by the Lititz Art Association to be held in the Lititz Springs Park on September 30th from 6:30 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. There will be no road closures or parking meters bagged, and this is their fine arts and craft show of about 53 artists. Are there any questions?
Can you play soft?
Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion that we approve the application for the Lititz Park Walk.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next application is from the Middle Creek Search and Rescue to hold their canine training and search and rescue seminar on November 4th from 9 a.m. until 1700 p.m. 5 o'clock. And this will be held in the Lititz Springs Park and surrounding downtown area. This is their canine training and tracking seminar for members of the Middle Creek Search and Rescue canine team, with the instructor utilizing the urban environment. There will be no road closures and no parking meters bagged. And any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application for the Middle Creek Search and Rescue canine training.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next application is from the VFW Post 1463 to host their Trunk or Treat show on October 21st from 10:30 a.m. until noon. This will be held at the VFW parking lot and will not require any road closures or parking meters to be bagged. Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application for the VFW Trunk or Treat.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last item of business is to approve a handicap parking space for Mr. Patrick Trenkle at 343 East Main Street, and he does possess a valid handicap parking placard. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application for his parking space.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Ken, we're coming back to you. Subcommittee report on finances.
Okay, good evening again, everybody. We have 4 items of business to review tonight, and the first is the 2024 pension calculations. So Borough staff and Conrad Siegel have prepared the 2024 pension calculations for the municipal employees pension plan, as well as the police pension plan. This information, we had a chance to share that with Borough Council in a memo dated September 18th. Any questions or any thoughts there with the council?
I don't think so, Ken.
Okay,
Standard.
seeing and hearing. Right. So Shane, I'd like to move that we accept the pension obligation and include it in the borough's 2024 budget planning.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. Second item of business tonight is the preliminary sewer fund budget. So Lititz Borough staff and Infomark personnel have been working hard to prepare a preliminary 2024 wastewater treatment plant budget. Members of the Water and Wastewater Services Committee and Finance Committee have had a chance to review this preliminary report, and we found that the budget is ready to present to the Warwick Township for review of their portion of the 2024 Warwick Township expenses. This is something we do each year. It gives them a chance to see what we're looking at going forward and allow them to plan in their budget. The only thing that we're waiting on is a CPI number that will be available at the end of September. And I think that is the only thing that's outstanding, right, Rob? I think Rob said yes, is that right?
He did. Sorry, forgot he's not at a mic.
So we do this now to let the Warwick Township team plan for their budget planning. So any questions? Okay, I'd like to move to approve the 2024 preliminary Lititz Borough wastewater treatment plant budget for review by Warwick Township.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The third item of business is just to extend a word of gratitude and acknowledging the donation in lieu of taxes by the Lititz Mennonite Church. We're very grateful for that, and we thank you. The fourth item of business is just for the council to look over the financial report. You'll see that we've got normal realization of revenue and expenses for this month, and we're on track at the moment. So, any questions? Okay, I'd like to move to approve the September financial report and pay all of our invoices.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ken.
And this finally, we have a finance meeting on Friday, and I'll be attending by Zoom, Rob. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ken. Subcommittee report on personnel, Andy.
We have one item of business tonight, and that would be the appointment of Randy Groff, who resides at 48 North Broad Street, to the Historical Area Advisory Committee. Randy and his wife have lived in Lititz for roughly 25 years, I believe. He had his business here in Little'sville, he currently still does have it, 508 Front Street. He's a graphic designer, semi-retired. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve Randy Graff be appointed to the Historical Area Advisory Committee.
Second.
Yes, Dave. Sure.
Dave Carson, 220 East Sixth Street. I just have a question. How do these appointments come up mid-year? Who recommends individuals? How are they contacted? What's the process? Because I think this is the first time we've heard of this. I'm just asking, how does that
Yeah,
happen?
so I think there had been a vacancy on the board for a while,
Okay.
and I don't know how he was approached, you know?
I think he might really have had conversations with him about the historic area. The name came through from Lori.
So a few months ago, I think you had a shade tree commission opening. And asked for people to apply. So if I'm correct or not correct.
Yeah.
Why is this different? Is there not a standard procedure? For all committees?
Shade Tree Commission, there was one opening, and I think there were 3 people that were interested. That's why we did interviews.
I think there was an advertisement saying, please step forward that is interested. I think it was announced at a council meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't know this person. I'm sure he's qualified. I'm just asking, should there be a standard procedure that the residents, the people that attend the meetings know if there's an opening, if anybody else besides Randy Groff wants to apply, don't have the opportunity from what you're saying here now.
Yeah, historically, we kind of go to the well of folks who have submitted volunteer applications, even when there's not an opening. So we might have a group of people that they want to volunteer, they just need a home, and they're kind of waiting for an opening to occur. We have at times when we've had multiple applicants, in fairness to the folks that apply for one specific volunteer role, that we do interview them to, try and make a good decision. So it's certainly something we can look at as far as, did we post it on the website, or how would we formalize a process for volunteers? But at this point, there's not really.
So that would be something that council would have to take an action.
You know what we could do? All the appointments that this body makes, anything, just make a chart. Put it in the paper once a year. What are the appointments? We may or may not have any vacancies, but if you're interested, and we need materials, we'll keep them on file. And when we have a vacancy, you can look at the file.
I was gonna say that is kind of what happened. Shane was alluding to my year, send their application. Okay, I want to be on, I'm just directly saying the planning commission. And there's not an opening on that, or if one comes up 2 years later, we'll notify them, hey, an opening is come up for an alternate or something. Like to.
Yeah, I just asked if someone would look at it, and his idea is as good as anybody's. So at least the public knows. Again, I don't recall this was brought up, and he's a good mix. He's a good choice. That's great. I think at least the public would know ahead of time. That's opening, so other people might be interested as well.
Right, yeah, I think on our website, there is a tab for the committees, and it does list the members. I don't know that it shows the vacancies though, so that's a good, yeah.
I didn't see it.
What it does show. They're
Okay,
Bob Smith. Fired.
that's a good idea, Dave.
Can I ask what Mr. Brubaker said to be put on the next agenda or two to be brought up with discussion and maybe a vote?
Yeah, we can work to formalize a proposal. So, yep.
Thank you.
We've motion and a second on the floor. In favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Subcommittee report on planning. Steve.
Yeah, we've got one item on the agenda here. It's a financial security reduction for Sutter Meadows. You've got two, pull them up here a sec. Got two different letters, one from WPE Partners, the owner asking for a total reduction of $835,027.60. We also have a review letter from David Miller Associates dated September 18th, doing a thorough review of each of those and coming up to a number shy of the request. for approval of 244,633 and also 493,655, which comes to a total of 788,288.3. Question? I would like to move that we approve the reduction for a total of $758,288.03, leaving a balance of $378,591.97.
Second.
With a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Steve. Report by our borough engineer, Scott.
Evening. Two of the main highlights from this past month, we continue to work with staff to secure all the agreements and make sure the engineering's done for the right track on the west side of Broad Street. We had some meetings with the school district and with the other owners of the property, the church slash park. That seems to be going well, and we're trying to make sure everybody understands what's going on and coordinate that. We also did have a meeting on site on Lititz Run between Water Street and Locust Street to look at the possibility of doing some restoration projects along that section of stream. Part of it was restored maybe 20 years ago, and some of those things worked. Some of them have since not lasted. So we're looking at what we could do to maybe fix some of those and maybe to work with a couple of the existing businesses along there. They've all been reached out to and all seem to be generally agreeable. And there's some grant funding. There's actually considerable grant funding available right now. So that was sort of the impetus for looking at those projects and see if we might be able to get something to happen. So other than that, we did some sort of cleanup reviews on a couple of the projects that are close to being finished this month. Any other questions?
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Hey, thanks.
Report by the mayor and chief of police, Mr. Mayor.
Just working on getting a junior council person, and I was on, a number of meetings for county and Lititz this month, and that's about it.
Reports by our managing directors, Elijah.
Thank you. We have my report, a couple of highlights. As Scott said, we were working to get the right of way from the school district and the Moravian Church. New Holland Coffee Company is moving forward. They're pretty close. According to them, it's always going to be like next week, but it's gotten that way throughout September. They are very close to getting their C of O, so I think in the next coming weeks, we'll see that at least a soft opening on their end. The other thing I want to just highlight for everyone is the comp plan working group is going through everything that we've heard through the process so far. We're trying to distill that down into some recommendations. We're going to be looking to have those at the October 12th meeting of the steering committee and the interested public. That'll be at the Warwick Middle School.
Okay, and that's an evening one, I believe, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
All right,
Any questions?
Thanks, Elijah. Bob?
Just a few things to call out on the report. First, but certainly not least, leaf pickup. Public Works is scheduled the first day for October the 16th. So that'll start our weekly, almost daily leaf pickup schedule. Also, Public Works has completed all their 2023 water, sewer, and street work projects. Everything's finished. Everything's been buttoned up and expected, so it's all good stuff. For letter E in my report there, the application for the small water for the four VFDs. The September meeting with the state where they were going to approve those grants got canceled and is now rescheduled for November. And we're hoping to hear at that point what the status of that grant will be. We are also probably 80% of the way through transitioning to softwares that we have at Federal Hall from a physical server to the cloud. The first one that happened was AccuFund. That's our accounting software. That happened in early September. There's been a few glitches here and there as Kristen and I worked through it, but overall it's gone well. And last but not least, we're obviously full budget prep at this time. It's taken a lot of our time every day, a lot of staff time to get all that stuff ready. Happy to answer any questions you might have for my report.
Thank you, Rob. We have no new business, no unfinished business, no other business, which brings us to our petitions, correspondence, and questions. So the mic is open for anyone who'd like to address council, and then we'll hit the Zoom attendees afterwards.
Had a question about, you always put the minutes on, the council minutes on the website. I don't see the August minutes on the website yet. Is there going to change in procedure for that, or did I miss something, or is it just delayed?
We just approved those this evening.
Well, okay, so August minutes were approved. Okay, so the July minutes, are they?
They are.
The August minutes, okay. In September, so the August minutes were just approved.
Yep.
Okay, so the August minutes, okay, so I'm mistaken. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Jerry Mack from 114 Red Fox Lane. We had a number of things tonight about the budget for 2024. We approved the preliminary budget for the sewer. Staff is starting to work on their budgets. Can you just remind me again how that budget process works and what's the time frame? I know the staff's working hard at that now. There's a finance committee, there's a preliminary review, and then there's approval. I'm assuming the budget is approved at the December meeting at some point. So just help us me understand a little bit of that process and timeline.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Ken, do you want this one?
Go ahead, Shane.
So the sewer, the preliminary sewer expenses that we approved tonight is solely for the benefit of Warwick Township so that they can prepare their budget. So they don't have to wait for us to finalize our budget here. The process kind of works, we'll be working with staff and through the subcommittee up until our November the 1st. It's the first Tuesday in November, right? Oh, it's second Tuesday. Second Tuesday in November is our budget workshop here in council chambers, open to the public. So we'll work November 14th. And that's typically an earlier meeting, 6 o'clock. We do kind of a working meeting, have some food here and work through it because it's typically, 2 to 3 hour process. So then at that point, we will most likely make edits to the budget. So that'll be the proposal from subcommittee. We'll come back with a recommendation for council to approve or to advertise in November and then adopt and vote on it into the December meeting.
So 2 meetings in November,
Yes.
preliminary budget meeting, the 14th, and then the last Tuesday of the month is when we'll approve it to be advertised.
One other thing, Shane, not related to that, is in regard to the October meeting change date.
Sure. Yeah, just to mention again, we do have the October meeting that would have been originally advertised in the calendar at the beginning of the year as the 31st, which is Halloween. So we moved that to the 24th. So if you're planning to attend next month, don't show up on the 31st or you'll be late. Yes, sir.
Strayer Front Street. Am I not mistaken that the stone parking lot at the old train station on Water Street, is that leased or rented to the borough for public parking? Is that correct, or something to that effect?
We lease that and then sublease part of it back to Appalachian. So I'm not sure how many spots, what the.
I think it's around like 70%.
Okay.
Never gets used to capacity.
70% is leased to Appalachian, or 70% is
70% is leased to Appalachian.
okay.
I guess my reasoning and question for the question was, I don't think most people know it exists as public parking, and I feel like maybe within the past 2 or 3 years, there was a brief discussion about some signage. I feel like there might be a sign there that's been run over once or twice, probably by a semi, but I'm not sure if it would be worth having a sign or two, even on Main Street to denote public parking down there, but you know, most people think the only public parking in the borough is in the park. And I think the park would argue that that's not technically public parking. So I just wonder if that's something that should be explored and looked at.
Thanks, Chris. I think Elijah, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when we've talked about this a little bit, you know, as the rail trail would get built out, that you might formalize that parking at that point, but certainly we could put signage wouldn't cost.
Right, there wouldn't be anything prohibitive about signage. The issue that it was never paved was because Norfolk had a really short revision clause, and they essentially could come in and say, anything you put on here, remove and restore back to the state it's in, which is the state it's been in for years. So there's never a desire to invest a lot in surface lighting, et cetera, when we didn't actually own the property.
They could just, come back and take it at any point. Okay. So I think that's on the horizon. Once we would know that maybe we go through the rail banking process, and the odds of that ever happening would slim, that could make some investment there, but signage we could certainly do.
Is that area to dump snow?
We used to. I think we're not anymore, right?
We don't have to because of the area at Linear. Yes, we can dump there again.
Yeah.
Recently, staging area for various construction.
Correct.
Also, would that not be for emergency?
It could be now that you're dumping at Dean Sailor again. It was never used in the past because that was the area when we would stop dumping there.
Thanks, Chris. Rob, anyone on Zoom? Okay, if there's no one else here, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.